1996, and I'm taping Margaret Sherling. What's your Ginger?
Use all of them.
Ginger Kim.
That's what Goldman always did.
Sam Singer. Okay, Sam, you start.
Well, we're going to tell a little bit about people who have lived in Lumpkin over the years, and I think we ought to start with the preacher. You want to start with Barrel Brown, the Hartsfields, Brother Sampler, Bo Whaley. Who you want to start with? Who you think you ought to leave off the preacher?
No, that's a good idea.
Well, you know it better than I do, so you start speaking about it. Speak up, speak up, speak up.
You don't know, you know Hartsfield better than I do.
No, he lives next door to me, but he and I never even socialized together. I probably was about 5 years old when he left here.
Was he the Baptist preacher?
Yeah. And then there was Brother Brown, W.E. Brown.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Barrel's one?
Oh.
No. Brother Brown had about 4 children, right? And Barrel Brown, he didn't have any children. Do you remember why they called him Barrel Brown?
No, why?
I don't know either. Get around here, son. I know he walked around the courthouse square every day. Went into every store.
Even the liquor store, did we have a liquor store?
We didn't have a liquor store.
Did he have a collection plate?
No, he just didn't have anything else to do, I guess.
J.L. Brown used to do that
Well,
too.
that's what I'm
That's what I'm talking about now.
That's Barrel Brown.
Oh.
Barrel.
That's Barrel Brown.
I just know that he would go in the restaurant and he would go to everybody and say, "How you doing today?" And before you could even respond, he'd gone to the next person. He really didn't care how you were doing.
You don't
You
know
didn't want
nothing.
anybody to tell him.
I found out after I bought the restaurant that he was also between tables. He would go up to the where the food was. It was cafeteria style, and he'd get us a bite. So everything there.
I guess that's why
He
he's
would
so
eat
big.
lunch, but he'd never sit down.
But would he pay for this?
No, but that's okay too.
I doubt it was for the proprietor.
All right, next door to him was Sil Ford and Betty and Miss Bessie. And then there's Clyde Ripson, he had that close to him. And he was married to Miss Lee, who was a nurse. She was a doctor, and my mom and daddy helped them. And the daddy made shoes, or repaired shoes, in the back of Richardson's store. Did you know that?
No.
And then the next one down there was Jerry Carter. He was on the car.
Well, maybe we need to find out if they remember anything about any of
I'll interrupt. You know I will. If I think
Okay, you do that.
I'll interrupt.
But I haven't gotten late
Well, I
enough
know
in
you
history
have a
for you to
story about
remember.
Miss Bessie. Don't you have one about Miss Bessie?
I know for me, I had one for Tom Kemp. One year, he went, when she was working at the bank, he went to the window and said, "Miss Bessie, my tulips are prettier than yours this year." We were just trying to get her started, and she said, "I guess they are. I didn't plant any damn tulips."
Well, do you remember when they had the first, it wasn't chimes, but it was a tape player or something that they had in the Baptist church? You remember what she said about on the Christian soldiers, where they had marched to, she thought? I'll forget.
What? How could you do that?
What she say?
She said they have marched them Christian soldiers.
To hell. That sounds like them.
But Terry Carter was a bootlegger. Did you know that?
Jared Carter.
Yeah, J.E. Carter lived on Tom. And he's the one that, well, his son lived in Gainesville.
Yeah, now he knows. You
His
know.
name was, what was his name? He and my dad were big buddies. I think both of them went to Belleville.
Somebody was a Twiggy.
No. I'm trying to think of his nickname. But he used to come down to the legislature a lot when I was there.
From Gainesville?
Yeah. He's a young oil distributor up there.
Claude.
Claude called him.
That's
Yeah.
But I was trying to think of his nickname. That he wasn't on that, his that gift, but he was in Canada. And Mr. Jerry was one lady. Yeah, you knew that. Now, do you know how he got to be one lady?
No, I don't know
I heard somebody shot it on.
a jealous husband.
That's what I. But I don't know.
That isn't what I'd have aimed at.
Because next door to them was St. Martha and off T4. And I'm trying to think. I remember, I may forget later, so I'm going to tell it now. I read both of y'all, Mr. Pugh. He used to come to my store every Monday morning and bring me $500, and I would give him a check on his bank in Columbus. And he would give me a nickel. A nickel for the trouble. I mean, you know, it was worth about a nickel. And so after about 2 years, I asked him, I said, Mr. Pugh, why is it you bring me that $500 every Monday morning? And he said, I don't want to talk to people to know all my business.
Good for him. Oh, that's funny. You know that now. Where is that money now? I need it.
But anyway,
Oh, that's cute.
next to him, Billabug, Henry. Sorry. Now, that's about your age span, so you can tell a few stories. Billabug.
You need Tom here more than you do me, 'cause he can
Well,
tell
we
us.
get him after we have a couple of beers. He doesn't drink that.
He's like a beer.
But anyway,
I guess you know this is all down.
Billabug.
I'm gonna play it for your
There's some
preacher.
stories about them, there has to be. And I'm just trying to. You can't think of anything?
I just didn't.
We can,
Well, move on then, don't waste the time.
Okay, next
wait a
door.
minute, we can't you, I know there's some good Billabug and Henry
Yeah.
Carter.
But y'all like to stop a minute and have something food. Well,
You want a glass of
that's,
wine?
No,
That's what I'm doing. And the preacher says, well, where's the little one? Anyway, what's the next story? Nothing on Billabug and Henry. We'll go
it's
back
got
to
to
this.
be, yeah.
Sam, tell the story about the man that rose and waved.
We ain't got to that house yet.
Oh, excuse me, but you may never get one.
Never, out, maybe this has got Alan, this is Alan. Margaret will start.
Okay,
Right,
that's
so
Billy
lift
Buck
them
and
up,
Henry.
right?
The Worthingtons live. Some of them died. I don't know who lived there before the Worthingtons. But let's get
The Worthingtons lived over there.
Oh, they lived next door to the Buck.
Really? I didn't realize that.
And next door to them was Susie Sybil, who was a relative of mine. I can't remember exactly how it is. Related
What's
to
the
the
last
house. Sybil? You don't remember?
S-I-T-T-L-E?
Mhm,
Yes, I did it on this Ellen.
I guess. You remember her daughter, Ruth Smith.
Smith, right.
And
Nellie was the daughter.
Nellie was a mother.
Nellie was, Susie was the mother. And Nellie was the
right.
daughter, and
But
then
Nellie taught.
I remember Miss Nelson.
Okay. That was her daughter.
Ruth.
Ruth
Didn't
Smith.
she used to play bridge?
She was the superintendent of the school. She was the only in Nancy. Is that, that's where it was?
Yeah, play bridge in the bridge.
But she was superintendent of the school at Nancy. She is the only lady school superintendent I've ever known for kids. Okay. Who was next door?
Sam, this could go on forever. Why don't you skip it?
Anything else?
What was you wanting,
That's
that's what I
right.
wanted you to
I'm
do?
not
I want a
editing
original.
it, someone else is.
The Griffith money.
Yeah. Griffin.
Griffith.
Griffin. And I don't remember too much about him except he was an older man. And next door to them, John Ann lived there. And who lived?
Jess Holborn.
Okay, Jesse, John Ann's daddy lived there.
Right.
And Joe Brooks.
Let's tell them Joe Brooks.
Talk about Miss Day. And she
I just didn't know this.
Tell about Gus and Jess being drunk coming out of Columbus right after they had the circle.
I don't know, you tell because I don't know.
They were coming from Columbus, they'd been up there drinking and eating something, I guess, and they were on their way home. And they just kept on going round and round, and Gussie finally said, well, Jess says, what are we doing? Says, how are we gonna get home?
Oh, that's funny.
Well, there has to be plenty of them on Joe Brooks.
It's got to be.
But I just can't recall.
He was just a character, just himself. He was your cousin.
Yeah, Miss Day was the lady that went to town crying because the lady on the radio died. You used to tell that story. Your mother tells that story. Miss Day used to go to town with a little wagon and she
Now, wait a
sold
minute,
eggs.
let's put this
No,
on.
no, I don't know the story. I'm just trying to remind them of it. So don't put.
But tell it, Ann. You have to tell
Get
it.
Seal to tell it, because I don't really know.
Well, just tell it and keep it. Turn it up.
She may need to.
See, I'm not in on this. I'm just.
Why aren't you?
I have to think on that story.
Sounds mighty funny to me.
Yep. And next door to that was Laura Sanchez' dad, Mr. Ernest. And he was what called a night watch. And I guess he worked 7 nights a week. We had one policeman and one night watch. As far as I know, each one worked 7 days a week.
And he was a widower, wasn't he?
And the policeman also took care of the garbage and the water department and the sewer department.
Wow.
He had a couple of helpers, one black man, I forget who it was, Ned Brown. And of course, next to them would be Dr. Grove, Merle. And I'm gonna tell on Dr. Grove. I was in the dentist office one day. You could hear everything went on because it's just petition. And somebody was in there and his voices got pretty loud. And got louder and louder in a few minutes. The fellow who was in the chair just got up, stomped out, and went down the stairs. So I went in, I said, Dr. Groves, what in the world's going on? He said that man had been up here 6 times in the last 6 weeks complaining about his false teeth. And I tried to fix them, and I tried to fix them, and I did the best I could. So finally, I asked him, I said, how much did you pay me for these false teeth? He said, $75. I reached in my pocket, I counted them out as $75. I threw his teeth on the floor and I stomped on them.
That sounds like what I've heard of Dr. Groves too.
Well, I don't know how long you've been dead, but I have a couple of blacks at the center who are still wearing his false teeth. They sure do.
So he's satisfied.
That's right.
Okay, well let's come back around. Back up
Did
the
somebody
road.
put that, what about that house where Holiday
The
Fish
next
lived?
one,
That,
who lived there? Tyler Lowry was before Tyler Lowry. What was it, Mr. Brooks?
no.
Now, Brooks lived on the corner, but I was thinking of another family that Brooks lived.
No, they were related to him, I think,
Right.
but they weren't not a couple. I can't think of who they were. Bank, no.
Was it
wasn't
Banks?
Banks.
That's
Was
what
it
it was.
Banks?
It was Banks.
Okay.
But I can't remember anything about it. And on the, so we jumped to the other side of the street and started back. Well, Henry Stubbs lived on the other side of the street. Okay, we have to stop at Henry Stubbs' house. Didn't he live on the corner there?
Yeah, where you turn, come back to the highway.
Right. But the one that would take the whole afternoon to tell would be everything. This service station was built by, so the first time I ever remember seeing it, I was probably in grammar school, and this stuff was in a play in the high school. The name of the play was Jack and the Beanstalk. And I remember this fella. To me, he was the biggest, ugliest man I'd ever seen. But anyway, his name was Elvis Shirley.
And he played the Giants.
Yeah. I don't know who was Jack, but
Was this the Lions Club production?
no, it was high school, senior play. Yeah, that's the only play I ever remember in the local school.
Isn't that funny? Elvis was a Giant.
And I don't know what started about all the stories that happened at the Elvis service station.
No, I don't know either. You start.
Tell us.
I do know there was gambling there every day.
Yes.
Every day. All day.
Till
If it
what?
wasn't just flipping the
Till
seat
what time?
until 2 o'clock. And that's what time Tan Holder made the circle of the square and tooted his horn. And all the poker players went out to the Holder place to play poker. The whole house up there.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mile Brand.
They would, yeah, Mile Brand. And every poker player went out there every afternoon, 1 o'clock and something. I promise you. It's a game that. How many times did you rate it?
I don't know.
But how many? Just guess.
At least 100.
How many? What happened every time you drive up?
What you mean?
How many of them jumped out the windows?
What? They don't leave.
Why were they scared of you?
I don't know.
She was a lot younger than she was back. She was tough.
What would you do?
Do you remember Mr. Riggs? Who was
Yeah, I remember
Riggs?
Mr. Riggs.
Well, you
He was Putwood man. First Putwood man I ever knew. I knew him. That was before Tom Kemp was Putwood man. Right?
Right. And he lived down at the Grill House.
Okay.
Dr.
Remember
Grill's
that.
house,
Yeah.
remember? And he was out,
He was from Panama City.
yeah, and he was out at the poker hole, or whatever you want to call it. One day, and I drove up out there and started blowing the horn. And he crawled up in the chimney. And then one time he was out there and he started home and he met that he was drinking. I reckon he was drunk. And he met the state patrol. So he went around the block and slipped in the house and jumped in the bed. And the state patrol knocked on the door. And he wanted, see the man that was in there that had been driving in the car. And he told him wasn't anybody in there. He'd been in the bed. And they said he got out of the bed and had his shoes, clothes, and everything on.
Well, this man climbed the chimney when you came. I don't know what you did.
I didn't go in there. I didn't have to get out of the car. All I do is blow and then sweat.
What did that mean?
You were alone.
What did it mean for Elvis to come?
Yeah, I didn't want anybody but Elvis.
But anyway,
Why did you want him?
Because he didn't have the money to be out there gambling.
well, who did he leave at the service station to run it while he was?
Oh, Mr. What was his name? Yeah.
Otto.
Mr.
Is he the one that wore the white shoes and delivered the
Yeah.
phone?
Yeah.
He came on time every day.
Never missed a
That's right.
time bringing
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about somebody else. Oh, Jack.
Jack.
We gonna get out in the country?
No, well, let me get Sonny. Do you remember the time Judy knocked the window out of the
Yeah,
station?
broke Sonny's leg.
Broke Sonny's leg.
What?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Squeezed him,
What happened?
accident.
Yeah.
He was standing there in front of the window.
Oh, I thought she was mad with him.
Nah, she put the, instead of putting the brake on, she hit the accelerator and ran into it and broke his leg.
Well, getting back to the Miles Ranch, when I was,
Where is a mile ranch?
where the highway department?
On the left-hand side of the road, yeah.
What's the word you're using before ranch?
Mile branch.
Branch.
It's a creek,
Mile.
1 mile from town.
Is that right?
That's the name of it. When I was, I think 13, I had been off with my daddy, my sister. And for some reason, Rusty Dunwoody met us, and Rusty and I were coming back to town, and my Uncle Bubba was brand new here. About how to be called. And it was raining, and Rusty didn't used to drive a big truck. And we hit some sand that washed out into the road. We turned over about 6 times to jump that creek. And I ended up in the back seat. Rusty ended up in the creek. So when I woke up, I couldn't find Rusty, and I walked back to the creek and I pulled him out and saved his life.
Oh,
You didn't know that?
Rusty. No, I remember Rusty.
And that's where he was crippled.
My little picture.
And we took him, or the help took him to Patterson Hospital. And I guess the road was paved, not possible. On the back of a ton-and-a-half truck.
Was it
But that's
just
nice.
lame of it, didn't you?
Yeah. But he did, he got to the hospital.
Well, that's wonderful. I know Jesse was real happy. That was his wife's name.
Yeah. I went,
Did you say?
I went to see Jesse one time. Well, they got divorced. Jesse moved to Cleveland, I think it was Cleveland, or Cincinnati. And I went to see him one time and bought a place.
Really? I always liked him.
Cut that thing off.
What was so funny about that, though, you didn't tell the first of that.
The establishment station for the president, we will be back for a whole tape on this. We don't get 2 or 3 of the characters to participate. We could make a whole little small tape out of one place. The first one that comes to mind to me is Sugar Booger. Remember Sugar Booger?
Yeah.
And who else?
Well, who was Sugar
Ray
Booger?
Worthington.
I remember Love Giesling down there all the time. And what? Hi.
Good.
Joe.
No. Virginia's son. What's his name?
Lawrence Pugh.
Lawrence Pugh.
Uh-huh.
Loving Lawrence Pugh down there throwing baseball away. But that isn't the best of it. Okay, we come back up this way, and there weren't any more houses that you got where Mr. Bland lives. And do you remember when there was not a road going to Cutler, you had to go around? That's the pigtail alley.
Where were you going to forget the Hesters? Oh, is that right?
See,
Oh,
I didn't
that's
know
right.
that.
Now, we're going to have to get back on that.
All right, well, I didn't know.
The Hesters were not there. There wasn't a road there
Oh.
until you got up to where Mr. Bland lived.
The Inwards from Thanksgiving.
I'm on the other side. They fronted up. It wasn't a street.
Okay.
But today we're going to come up that street.
You had to go down the street and then turn and
Right.
to go to Cutler.
Yes. And you went on down that back where Mr. Moore lived, down that way. But what I'm getting at is there wasn't a road going to Cutler. There. It was a dead end, and you could either turn left and go to town, and you turn right and got to Pigtail Alley and go to Cutler. But one Saturday night, my daddy and Hamp Barr were out riding. And both of them probably was kind of like your daddy. But the old they had 2 or 3 trains. And they ran off the road. right back, right in the ditch. They didn't make that turn.
That's what started the new road.
But what was, my dad had sense enough to stay at home the next day. He wasn't going to Sunday school anyway, but half all was Sister Bill was in Sunday school. And he went to Sunday school all bad and stuff. He was cut all over the head. Another thing, while I'm thinking about Dr. Boss, he was kind of, I won't say fat, anything like that, but he was kind of,
Very, very fat. And bald-headed.
he was substantial anyway.
He's the one that should have been the judge.
If you could walk in the drugstore, he'd be standing there behind where the ice cream was, with about 3 or 4 doors on the ice cream case. He had a teaspoon, not a teaspoon because it had to have a long handle. And he'd dip out each one of those ice cream buckets. He'd eat it. They didn't get to that.
No,
Eat it.
no. Girl, we gotta eat all this eating after dark.
Okay. Now then, so that leaves.
Anybody know any more Dr. Bar stories?
We'll get to them when we get
Okay.
back to his side. Okay, Mr. Bland, he lived. Remember his house burned. That is not the house that Mr. Bland originally lived in. The house he lived in seemed like stuff always rock.
Two-story?
No, one story. About 1937, it burned down.
On the same lot?
Same lot. And then they built that. And I'm trying to think of the story my mother tells me about Mr. Bland after his wife died. He had a cabin, a built cabin out here on the hill right by Charles, Georgia.
On the left of the road.
On the left of the road.
No.
And I'm trying to think what his black cook had to say about that cabin, what was going on out there, having this Bland would rise up out of the grave if you just knew what was going on out there in that cabin.
His
What was that?
pleasure house. One of his pleasure
I'll forget, that'll be his pleasure house. What was,
Response from him.
we and we're gonna also have to get out and go the other way from Charles Road. We got to talk about Rob Walker a little bit.
Yeah, that gets the country.
Okay, next door to the Bland. Okay, then you have Harriet, Bill, Steve, and just 3 of them?
3 of them.
That was 3.
Bye, darling.
Well, is this thing running?
Yeah. It's got all of y'all.
Okay. While I got it on my mind, I got to tell about, I got the Blands on my mind, so I got Charles Coffin on my mind. See, the Bland, Norman Williamson's sister, Norman married Harriet. But Norman's sister was married to Herman Talmadge.
Yes.
And Herman Talmadge and Charles Coffin and Richland were big brothers. I mean, that's the connection between the Coffins and the Talmadges and the Blands. And then there's Jack Chapman, which mixed up with Charles Coffin and all that. So, Charles Coffin was in the Senate, you know. He beat off T4. That was hard to do, but he beat off T4. And Jack used to come to around and see me when I was in grade school. Jack was telling the story about he and Charles. Charles had a brand new, one of them had a brand new Packard convertible. And this was about 1936 or 37. And they were drinking in Atlanta, and ended up having enough to drink. They just decided they were going to Washington, D.C. to see somebody. So they went to the airport, got a plane to Washington D.C. in the 30s. Two days later, they pick up the Washington Post and look at the headline. There's the headline says, "Freak snowstorm hits the ground." And there, right under the headline, is a picture of their convertible with the top down, full of snow. Cut that thing off.
I bet that joke is.
You could write a book on Jack Chopper.
And what paper was that in? The
The
Washington?
Washington Post.